My parents abandoned me as a kid. Now, they've teamed up with the TV show Reunited to launch a media campaign to guilt trip me into supporting their retirement. So I decided to guilt trip the whole world right back. I started a fundraiser. 01, the reunion. The man and woman who claimed to be my parents showed up on my college campus. Their faces were etched with hardship, but the way they looked at me was pure calculation. Cole, the woman said, her voice rasped. We're your mom and dad. We didn't have a choice back then. The man mumbled. I just looked at them, feeling nothing. Can I help you? They froze, clearly not expecting me to be so calm. We're getting old. Can't work anymore. We were hoping. You were hoping I'd support you? I finished for them. The man's face flushed. The woman started dabbing at her dry eyes. We're your biological parents. It's your duty to take care of us. I turned and walked away. Their curses followed me, sharp and bitter. I didn't care. The next day, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello, am I speaking with Cole Miller? This is the production team for the show, Reunited. The voice on the other end was sickeningly sweet and professional. Your parents contacted us. They're hoping to reunite with you on the show. I was about to hang up. We can offer you an appearance fee of $5,000. I paused. $5,000. Enough to cover my student fees for the next year. Fine, I'll do it. On the set of the show, the stage lights were hot on my face. The host was a middle-aged man with a kind, gentle face perfected by years of television. My parents were already sitting across from me, weeping on cue. Cole, I know you must feel hurt, but blood is thicker than water. The host began his performance. When your parents left you at the group home, it was because they were so poor they couldn't even afford to eat. They had a sick son at home, your younger brother, who needed medicine. They had no other choice. The studio audience murmured with sympathy. The camera zoomed in on my face, waiting to capture the moment I broke down. My expression was blank. A younger brother? I didn't remember having a brother. Now, your parents are old and sick. Their only wish is to have you back in their lives, to let them live out their final years in peace. The host's voice cracked with emotion, his eyes glistening. Cole, give your parents a hug. Tell them you forgive them. Every eye in a room was on me, each one a tiny, piercing needle. I stood up. I walked to the microphone and spoke 2 clear words. I refuse. The studio erupted. My parents wailed louder, clutching their chests as if they were about to collapse. The host looked at me with an expression of profound disappointment. How can you be so cold-hearted? These are your parents. That night, I went viral. Labels like ungrateful snake, heartless monster, and sociopath flooded my social media accounts. My DMs were overflowing with thousands of messages cursing me, lecturing me, using the most vicious language imaginable. They all said the same thing. I had to accept my parents. I had to support them. As if failing to do so meant I deserved to be burned at the stake. I turned off my phone and got a great night's sleep. The next morning, I called the studio myself. I've thought it over, I said. I'm willing to take them back. The producers were ecstatic and immediately scheduled a second live broadcast. It was the same studio, same people. When the host saw me, a triumphant smile spread across his face. Cole, it looks like you've finally come to your senses. This is the ending we were all hoping for. He handed me the microphone. I took it, faced the camera, and gave a deep, solemn bow. A single tear rolled down my cheek right on cue. Yes, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I've come to my senses. Last night, as I read through all the hateful comments online, I realized I was wrong. I shouldn't have focused on the 15 years of pain I went through. I should have tried to understand the hardship my parents faced. I made my decision. From this day forward, they are my responsibility. The host began to applaud, and the audience enthusiastically joined in. My parents cried with joy, reaching out to grab my hands. I sidestepped their grasp. I turned back to the camera, my expression shifting to one of profound sadness and helplessness. But I have a problem. I'm just a college student. I don't have any money. The $5,000 the show paid me is everything I have in the world. It was supposed to be for next year's student fees. If I take them in, that money will have to go to their medical bills. So what happens to my education? I don't know, and I have nowhere to live. I'm in a dorm, and the school has a strict no-family policy. Once we're reunited, where will my parents sleep? Are they supposed to sleep on a park bench with me? My voice trembled, each word laced with despair. My parents are sick, they can't work. If I drop out of school to get a job, the best I can do is work minimum wage at some fast food place. On that kind of salary, the three of us wouldn't even be able to afford ramen noodles. I know you all mean well. You all want to see our family back together. But surely you don't want to see my parents die from their illnesses right after our reunion because we can't afford a doctor? Surely you don't want to see the three of us homeless, starving to death on the street. The applause in the studio died instantly. Everyone fell silent. The host's smile was frozen on his face. My parents had stopped crying, their mouths hanging open as they stared at me. Then, with a thud, I dropped to my knees in front of the camera. So I'm begging you. I'm begging all of you kind-hearted people who wanted us to reunite. Please, donate to us. Your donations are the only way we can survive, the only way my parents can live out their final years in peace, the only way I can stay in school. Otherwise, this reunion is just a death sentence for all three of us. You don't want to be the ones who forced us into our graves, do you? The world went silent. The live chat on the YouTube stream, which moments before had been a waterfall of curses, had come to a complete standstill. Then, a few scattered question marks started to drift by. Then more. Finally, the entire screen was flooded with question mark and WTF. I knelt on the floor, looking at the host's ghost-white face and the audience's bewildered expressions. I smiled. You want to guilt-trip me? Let's see who's better at it. 02 The aftermath. The livestream chat went insane. After the initial flood of question mark and WTF, the tone started to shift. Wait, he's kind of got a point. I wrote a 300-word essay yesterday about what a piece of trash he is. My face hurts right now. Hold on, let me get this straight. We demand he takes his parents back. He does. He says he can't afford to support them, and we call him ungrateful. Now he's asking us to donate so he can support them, and we're supposed to? We can't exactly say no, can we? That would make us hypocrites. Dude above me, are you actually going to donate? What else are we supposed to do? The kid is on his knees. He looks miserable. The show and his parents are pieces of work for pushing him this far. In the studio, the beads of sweat on the host's forehead were more real than the tears in my eyes. He'd been in television for decades and had seen it all, but this was a tidal wave, and it was about to drown him. He tried to pull me up, but I clung to the floor like I was glued to it, sobbing hysterically. Sir, you're a good man. Please help me. I grabbed his pant leg, tears and snot flowing freely. Please, make an announcement on the show. Put a donation link up on the screen, right now. Cole, please get up. Let's talk about this. He tried to pull his leg away, but I held fast. No, if you don't agree, I'll stay here until I die. I wailed. I don't care if I die, but what about my parents? They just found their son, only to watch him die. Is there no justice in this world? My parents finally snapped out of their shock. When the woman heard the word donations, her eyes lit up and she started howling along with me. Yes, my poor boy has had such a hard life. Please, everyone, find it in your hearts to give us a little money. We can't survive without it. As she cried, she nudged my so-called father. The man's face turned shades of red and white, as if he was embarrassed, but the allure of money was too strong. He mumbled a few pathetic, yes, yes sounds. The host looked like he was about to have a stroke. He was holding a microphone in one hand, trying to pry my fingers off his leg with the other, all while maintaining a pained, empathetic expression. He looked like a twisted piece of modern art. Cool, we can figure out the money situation later. The show will help. How will you help? I cut him off, my voice a perfect blend of innocence and desperation. You're the one who said blood is thicker than water. You're the one who said family is everything. Now all it takes is a little money to preserve this sacred bond. Why wouldn't we do it immediately? Or was everything you said before just for show? The moment those words left my mouth, the host's face turned green. The live stream chat exploded. Holy shit, he went right for the throat. Translation, put your money where your mouth is, you hack. Host, I just wanted to mediate a family dispute, not get financially involved. I hereby declare this the best live stream fail of the year. No, wait, this is performance art. Where's that Justice Warrior 123 guy who was calling for Cole's head yesterday? Cat got your tongue. Time to donate. He changed his username. It's now user deleted. The director was frantically signaling from offstage for the host to wrap it up any longer, and I was going to single-handedly destroy the network's reputation. The host got the signal and looked like he'd just been granted a pardon. With a tremor in his voice, he announced, "Due to time constraints, this episode of Reunited is coming to an end. Let's wish Cole and his family all the best for their future." He hadn't even finished the word future when I shouted at the top of my lungs, "A future that depends on your donations. God bless all you kind souls." The director was quick. The signal was cut. The live stream feed instantly switched to a commercial for laundry detergent. The studio lights dimmed. The audience members, who had been applauding so warmly just minutes before, were now staring at us like we were aliens. They rose from their seats and filed out quickly and quietly, as if they were afraid I'd chase them down for money. The host ripped his leg from my grasp. The gentle, warm expression was gone, replaced by a stony, furious glare. Without a word, he turned and stormed off, his posture screaming defeat. My parents were still lost in the fantasy of a massive donation windfall. The woman grabbed my arm, grinning from ear to ear. "Son, you're a genius. This is great. Now we'll have money for our medical bills." I slowly got to my feet and brushed the dust from my knees. "Money." I looked at them and smiled. "What money?" Their grins vanished. The donations." "Oh, that," I nodded. "You should probably talk to the producers about that. After all, they're the ones who invited you here." Without another word, I turned and walked backstage. A staff member was waiting for me, his face even grimmer than the host's. He saw me, pulled an envelope from his pocket, and shoved it into my hand. $5,000. "Count it." His tone was clipped. I opened the envelope, took out the cash, and carefully counted it. 50 crisp $100 bills. I counted it twice. "It's all here." I put the money back in the envelope and tucked it into my jacket. "You can go now," the staffer said, dismissing me. "Okay." I turned and left without a second glance. Behind me, I could hear my parents starting to shout, their voices mixing with the staffer's attempts to get them to leave. I didn't look back. Walking out of the TV station, the cool night air felt amazing. I pulled out my phone and switched it off airplane mode. Hundreds of notifications flooded in, but this time, the tone was completely different. The #1 trending topic on Twitter was #HardcoreReunion. I clicked on it. It was filled with screenshots of me on my knees, crying my eyes out, repurposed into an endless stream of memes. My face, tear-streaked caption, "Pay up or shut up." My face, looking desperate, caption, "Don't talk to me about feelings. It's expensive." My face, hands outstretched, caption, "You want me to be a good son. Venmo me $50,000 for startup capital." The comment sections were a sea of laughing emojis. The accounts that had been savaging me yesterday had either gone silent or posted a simple message. "My bad. I spoke too soon." I turned off my phone, slid it into my pocket, and patted the thick envelope in my jacket. My student fees were covered. As for my parents and that so-called brother, whoever wanted them could have them. 03, the Hope Fund saga, was late when I got back to my dorm. My 3 roommates were still awake, huddled around a laptop. My face was on the screen, my tearful, kneeling performance playing on a loop. My desperate cry of "Please, donate to us," echoed through the small room. Ahem. I closed the door, making a little noise. The 3 of them froze, turning their heads in unison to look at me. The air was thick for about 3 seconds. Then one of them snorted, and the room erupted in a deafening roar of laughter. Leo Garcia, the big guy, was pounding his mattress. "Cole, you're a legend. My hero." The host's face was so green you could have used it as a green screen. Sam Jones, the skinny one, pushed his glasses up his nose and offered a serious, academic take. "This wasn't just a guilt trip. This was a reverse hostage situation. It's the art of emotional blackmail, elevated to a new form. Cole, you should start a masterclass. I'd be your first student." Even Ben Carter, the quiet pre-med student, gave me a silent thumbs up and managed 2 words, so satisfying. I pulled the envelope from my jacket and tossed it on my desk. "Fees are paid." The laughter stopped. They looked at the thick envelope, then back at me. The humor faded from their faces, replaced by something else. "You actually got it?" Leo asked, his voice low. "It's the appearance fee. What about your folks?" Last I saw, They were at the TV station demanding their donation money from the producers, I said nonchalantly, firing up my old laptop. The internet was even more chaotic than my dorm room. My spectacular broadcast had been edited into countless clips. There were remix versions, versions set to dramatic music, and even an in-depth analysis from a pop culture channel titled The Cole Miller Incident. How online outrage ate itself. My name was welded to the #1 spot on Twitter's trending list. But this time, the hashtag was different. Hashtag should we donate to Cole Miller. The discussion board underneath, it was like a massive public philosophy debate. A popular influencer who just yesterday had written a long blog post condemning me as a moral black hole and a stain on humanity had posted a new article at 3 a.m. The title, A Return to Reason. Are we asking too much of an 18-year-old? The article was thousands of words long, but the core message was simple. I messed up and spoke too soon. My face is still red, but to save my reputation, I need to analyze this from a different, more nuanced angle. The comments, however, were far more blunt. So what's the verdict? Are we team reunion or team no reunion? Team reunion. Family is family. Blood is thicker than water. Okay, you first. Go donate. Anyone who preaches forgiveness without putting their money where their mouth is deserves a special place in hell. Dude, I'm just giving my opinion. Why do I have to pay for it? Your opinion was basically you taking a dump on this kid's life. Now he's asking for the cost of toilet paper to clean it up. Don't want to pay? Then you have no right to tell him what to do. Exactly. Cole spelled it out. Reunion equals the three of them starve together. No reunion equals he survives alone. You people are pushing him to choose starvation just so you can watch a feel-good story. Fine, you want your entertainment? Buy the ticket. The outrage had successfully been redirected from me to all the righteous keyboard warriors. A brand new hashtag started trending. Hashtag donate before you preach. That tag became home to a massive online performance art piece. Users had turned the screenshot of me kneeling with my hands out into a reaction meme. Anytime someone posted a comment telling me to be the bigger person or forgive them, a dozen people would reply with my meme, captioned, "Cash at me $50 and I'll listen to your sermon." Family Reunion Startup Capital. Please contribute. Scan QR code to support family values. The accounts that have been attacking me yesterday either went dark or tried to defend themselves with a weak, "I was just trying to help," only to be ratioed into deleting their comments and fleeing. The entire internet had created a bizarre, perfect loop. Want to tell Cole Miller to reunite with his parents? Fine. First, you have to donate. If you don't donate, you're a hypocrite. You're the one trying to murder his family. I watched the comments scroll by, a smile creeping across my face. Just then my phone rang. It was an unknown local number. I answered. "Hello, is this Cole Miller?" The voice on the other end was strained, trying to suppress a mix of anger and exhaustion. It sounded like someone from the production team. This is Mr. Wallace, the producer of Reunited," the man said curtly. "Your actions last night have caused extreme damage to our show and our network's reputation. We demand that you issue a public statement immediately and clarify the situation." Clarify what? I shot back. Clarify that my parents are, in fact, broke? Clarify that I really don't have any money to support them? Or clarify that your show never had any intention of giving us a dime? He was so stunned he couldn't speak for a few seconds. I could hear his heavy breathing. Your parents are still in our building's lobby, causing a scene. They're telling everyone we stole millions of dollars in donations that were meant for them. You need to come and get them." "Mr. Wallace, you've got it all wrong," I said, my voice calm. "First, they were your invited guests. Technically, you're responsible for seeing them off the premises. Second, the expectation of donations was created by the atmosphere your show manufactured. Now they're asking you for the money you led them to expect. That seems perfectly reasonable. How is that my problem? Also, I added after a pause, I've already received the $5,000 appearance fee. As per our agreement, my part of the performance is complete. Anything that happens now has nothing to do with me." I hung up and blocked the number. All in one smooth motion. The world was quiet again. I took the money out of the envelope, carefully counted out $400 bills, and put the remaining $1,000 in my wallet for living expenses. Then I opened my university's online payment portal, logged in, and paid my student fees and housing costs for the next year, down to the last cent. When the words "payment successful" popped up on the screen, I let out a long, slow breath. This was real. This was security I could hold in my hands. Just as I was about to close the browser, a notification popped up from a news site. It was from Hope Fund, the country's largest crowdfunding platform. The headline was impossible to miss. Hashtag "A Million Hearts Heal a Family. The Redemption of the Ungrateful Son." My stomach dropped. I clicked the link. The page was dominated by a picture of my face from the show, contorted in anguish. Next to it, in bold letters, it read, "He was abandoned. He was misunderstood. He was cyberbullied. Now, he has chosen responsibility. A young man, barely an adult, has decided to carry the weight of his broken family on his shoulders. He doesn't need our judgment. He needs our help. Let's come together and donate to give Cole and his parents a stable future." The campaign organizer was a well-known influencer with millions of followers, the same one who had written the article attacking me, then the one defending me. He had clearly been backed into a corner by his followers and decided to go all in by actually starting a fundraiser. The goal, $500,000. The funds were designated for my parents' medical treatment and living expenses, as well as my tuition and living costs for the next 3 years. I stared at the number, silent. I scrolled down. The campaign had been active for about 15 minutes. The current amount raised was $5,327.80. The largest single donation was from the influencer himself, $5,000. The other $300 came from hundreds of different users, most of whom had donated $1 or $2. The most recent comments on the page were, "Okay, I donated $1. Am I officially qualified to lecture him about family values now? Donated 50 cents. Now selling certificates of moral superiority, cheap. Ibait Malasia duas. All right, Cole, get on your knees and thank your parents." I looked at those pathetic trolling comments, then back at the paltry sum of $5,000. I had to laugh. So this was the price of a saint's compassion. I closed the page, lay back on my bed, and tried to sleep. But I had seriously underestimated how quickly this farce could escalate. The next morning, I was jolted awake by Leo's shouting. "Holy crap. Cole, wake up." It exploded. It actually exploded. I groggily reached for my phone. He shoved his own phone in my face, displaying the Hope Fund campaign page. Overnight, the donation total had skyrocketed from just over $5,000 to $480,000. For moral high ground. I stared at the glaring $480,000 on the phone screen. The number was still ticking upward, getting closer to the $500,000 goal with every refresh. The dorm room fell silent. Leo's jaw was hanging open. "See, Cole," he stammered. You're rich." I didn't say anything. I just kept refreshing the page. In the few minutes we'd been watching, the number officially crossed the $500,000 mark. Goal reached. The bright red words pulsed on the screen. I looked at the $500,000 figure. I didn't feel the rush of joy I might have expected. Instead, a chill ran down my spine. This money was radioactive. My phone started buzzing. It was an unknown number from the same city as Hope Fund's headquarters. I answered. "Hello, is this Mr. Cole Miller?" A woman's voice said. It was professional, but with a subtle, condescending edge. "It is. This is the customer service director at Hope Fund. Congratulations, your crowdfunding campaign has successfully reached its goal. As per our platform's policies, the funds will be transferred to your account after a brief review." "How long is the review?" "Don't you worry, we're professionals. You should receive the funds by tomorrow morning at the latest." She hung up before I could ask another question, as if she were informing me I'd won $5 on a scratch-off ticket. I didn't sleep well that night. The next morning, I woke up to find all 3 of my roommates staring at me. Their eyes were glued to my phone. "Did it come through?" Leo whispered. I picked up my phone and opened my banking app. A new deposit notification was sitting at the top of the list. I tapped on it. Sender, Hope Fund, a subsidiary of XX Tech Corp. Amount, $5,000,000. I stared at the number. 5,000, not 500,000. You could have heard a pin drop in the dorm room. I sat in silence for a full minute. Then, I threw back my covers and got out of bed. I opened my laptop, logged into my long dormant Twitter account, set up my phone, and hit record. In the video, my face was pale. My eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep, and I wore an expression of carefully crafted bewilderment. Hi everyone, I'm Cole. My voice was a little hoarse. First, I want to thank everyone who cared about me and helped me. Yesterday, you all raised $500,000 for my family. I'm honestly speechless. I bowed deeply to the camera. This morning, I received the money from the Hope Fund platform. I held my phone up to the camera, the banking app's deposit notification clearly visible. The number $500,000 was magnified, impossible to miss. The platform told me this was the amount after their review. I lower my head, my voice filled with confusion and hurt. $500,000 became 5,000. I don't really understand how this works. Maybe the platform has to take out some kind of service fee. 5,000 is still a lot of money. Thank you all. I looked up, forcing a smile that was more painful than a grimace. This money will be enough to get my parents a couple of hot meals from a diner, maybe even cover the copay for a single ER visit. It's just... My tone shifted, and my eyes instantly welled up. I just don't understand. If you all felt we weren't worthy of your help, you didn't have to donate. Really? Why do it like this? That $500,000 felt like a dream. Now the dream is over, and all I have in my hand is $5,000. Is this supposed to be an insult? At the end of the video, a single tear escaped and rolled perfectly down my cheek. I stopped the recording, uploaded it, and titled it, "Thank you all for the $5,000. I'll try my best to survive." Then I turned off my phone and tossed it aside. Less than 10 minutes later, Leo's phone started vibrating off his desk. Holy hell. It's on fire. The whole internet is on fire. He shoved his phone in my face. The comments section under my video had been completely overwhelmed. $500,000 becomes $5K. I'm not great at math, but that doesn't seem right. I donated $100 yesterday. Is the service fee 99%? Hope Fund, are you a charity or the mafia? Damn it, I knew something was fishy. The platform stole the money. At Hope Fund official, get out here and explain yourselves. Where's the money? The public's fury, in an instant, pivoted from me to the platform. The influencer who started the campaign was getting it even worse. At the Real Talk Guru, you and Hope Fund running a scam together. How big was your cut? $500K to $5,000. Did you pocket $400,000? A few minutes later, the influencer posted his own frantic message, his tone a mix of shock and rage. At Hope Fund official, where's the $5,000 I donated? I want to know where the money went to. The entire internet had descended into chaos. I had become the internet's most peculiar victim. People sympathized with me not because my parents had abandoned me or because I was poor, but because of my stolen $495,000. The hashtag Hope Fund, whereas the money shot to the top of the trending charts like a rocket, a bright red viral tag burning next to it. On Hope Fund's official Twitter account, every single post, whether it was about another charity drive or a corporate announcement, was buried under a tidal wave of the same meme. The screenshot of my face from my latest video with the caption, "Thank you for the $5,000. Their PR team was clearly in shock. They started by deleting comments, but after realizing it was like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon, they opted to play dead. My parents, however, were not about to let anyone play dead. That afternoon, a new video started making the rounds. It was shot on a shaky phone in the lobby of the TV station. My mother was on the floor, kicking her legs and screaming at the top of her lungs. Thieves! This TV station and that crooked platform stole my son's life-saving money. $495,000. Give us back our money. My father stood beside her, weeping into the cameras of onlookers, his logic slightly more coherent. Why do we do the reunion? For our son. Kind people donated to help him. So where did the money go? The station and that Hope Fund must be in it together. We're not leaving until we get our money. It was a terrible performance, but it was incredibly effective. The comments under the video showed the tide turning again in a weird way. Okay, they're trashy, but he's got a point. Where's the money? I'm starting to think this family is onto something. Their strategy is just to be relentlessly shameless, but at least their goal is clear. Where are all the virtue signalers who told Cole to take them back? Come on, time for round 2 of donations. Look how desperate his parents are. Donate me. I'm still at the $50 I donated last time. Until Hope Fund gives a refund. Anyone who donates again is a moron. Exactly. Put your money where your mouth is. Stop just flapping your gums. Online, the calls for me to be the bigger person had vanished. If you wanted to preach, you had to first post a screenshot of your Hope Fund donation, then join the mob demanding a refund. The barrier to entry for having a moral opinion had suddenly gotten much higher. In my dorm room, Leo was rolling on his bed, howling with laughter. Cole, it's beautiful. Your parents have the fighting spirit of 1,000 internet trolls. Hope Fund stock is actually dropping. Sam pushed his glasses up. They've successfully drawn all the fire onto themselves, creating a 3-way war between them, the platform and the TV station. Now, no one has time to bother you. He was wrong. Someone still had time to bother me. The influencer who had started the crowdfunding campaign, after being attacked by his followers all day, finally broke. At 8 p.m., he started a live stream. On camera, his eyes were red and his face was gaunt. He began with a deep, 90-degree bow. My friends, I am so sorry. As a public figure, I failed to properly vet the platform we used. I allowed your kindness to be taken advantage of, and for that, I apologize to every single one of you. And I apologize to Cole. I never imagined that my actions would cause him such profound secondary harm. His performance was masterful, far more convincing than the host of Reunited. After tearing in a Hope Fund for their shameless greed and announcing that he had already filed a police report, he changed his tone. But we cannot let the corruption of one platform stop us from our pursuit of good. The struggles of Cole and his family are real. We cannot turn our backs on them just because we were scammed once. He grew more and more agitated, his face flushing with righteous anger. That is why I have decided, in my own name, to start a new fundraiser for Cole's family with our local chapter of the American Red Cross. This time, we will go through the most official, the most trusted, the most transparent channel available. Every single cent will be delivered into Cole's hands under public supervision. Behind him, a screen lit up with an official Red Cross donation page. The project title, the Heal a Family Fund, a special grant for Cole Miller. The goal was still that glaring number, $500,000. Everyone, the influencer shouted, raising his fist to the camera. I know many of you feel betrayed and heartbroken. I get it, but this time I will lead the way. He pulled out his phone and, live on camera, scanned the QR code and donated $50,000 of his own money. I believe that good will always triumph over evil. Let's believe one more time. Let's bring this family home. The live stream chat erupted. That's how you do it. A true leader. Let's go. You think they dare to steal from the Red Cross? Donate $100. This time, Cole is getting that money. I stare at my phone screen. The influencer's face, bathed in the light of his grand gesture and set against inspiring background music, looked almost holy. Leo leaned over, his usual grin gone. His expression was complicated. Cole, this is the Red Cross. This is for real. Ben, the pre-med student, looked up from his textbook, his eyes studying me with a new intensity. He was right. The American Red Cross. Things were starting to get interesting. This influencer was a shark. He'd been backed into a corner, so he responded by setting the entire ocean on fire. He used his own $50,000 to shut everyone up. Now, the ball was back in my court. If this $500,000 was actually raised, and if it was presented to me, every last cent accounted for, what would I do? Take it or refuse it? If I took it, I was tacitly agreeing that these two people were my responsibility for the rest of my life. If I refused it, the entire internet would drown me a second time. I turned off the live stream and lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. The dorm was quiet, the only sound being the soft whispers of Leo and Sam refreshing their phones. After about half an hour, Leo let out a sharp gasp. Dude, it's at 300,000. I didn't move. 10 minutes later, Sam's voice cut through the silence, filled with disbelief. 500,000. It's full. The room fell into a dead silence. I slowly sat up and picked up my phone. On the Red Cross donation page, the words, "Goal reached," burned like a branding iron on my screen. The silence in the dorm room felt absolute, like it was sucking all the air out of the room. $500,000, raised through the most trusted and transparent channel in the country. Leo and Sam had stopped refreshing their phones. They just stared at me, as if I were a man on death row waiting for the final verdict. I was the one trapped in the spotlight now. The next 3 days passed in a long, strange calm. Online, the influencer was being celebrated as a hero, a paragon of modern integrity. My parents had quieted down, no longer causing scenes at the TV station. They were probably busy planning how to spend the $500,000 they were sure was coming. Everyone was waiting for my next move. Go to the Red Cross, collect the money, and perform a tearful, heartwarming family reunion for the cameras. I did nothing. I went to my classes, studied at the library, and came back to my dorm. My life was as bland as unseasoned oatmeal. My roommates watched me with worried eyes, but they didn't know what to say. Leo tried to start a conversation a few times, but Sam always silenced him with a look. They knew that any advice or comfort they could offer now would be meaningless. On the morning of the fourth day, I was in the middle of a lecture when an unknown local number called my phone. I ignored it. It immediately called back. I stepped out of the lecture hall and answered. "Is this Cole Miller?" A man's voice asked. It had the clipped, authoritative tone of a government bureaucrat. "It is. This is the city chapter of the American Red Cross. Regarding your special assistance fund, we need you to come to our office at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Bring your student ID and a driver's license." He hung up before I could ask any questions. At 2 p.m., I was standing outside the Red Cross office. A man in a crisp white shirt, the one from the phone call, greeted me. He led me into a small conference room. On the table was a red envelope. Next to it, a digital camera was set up on a tripod, and a young staffer was adjusting the lens. "Have a seat, Cole," the man said, gesturing to the chair across the table. I sat down. He cleared his throat and put on a professional smile. "First, on behalf of the American Red Cross and the many generous donors from across the country, I want to express our sympathy for what you and your family have been through. We are all very pleased to see you on the path to reconciliation." He pushed the red envelope across the table toward me. "This is your first living stipend. It should help you get started. We'll just take a quick photo for our records to show the donors their contributions are being put to good use." I looked at the envelope. It was too thin. I didn't reach for it. Instead, I asked calmly, "First stipend?" "That's right." The man nodded, his smile unwavering. "Considering you're still a student with limited life experience, we feel that giving you a large sum of money all at once wouldn't be beneficial for your personal development. Therefore, the Red Cross will act as the custodian of the $500,000 fund. We will disburse the money to you in monthly installments based on the documented needs of you and your parents, tuition, medical bills, living expenses, and so on. Rest assured, we are professionals." He sounded perfectly reasonable, like a responsible uncle offering sound financial advice. I reached out and picked up the envelope. Right in front of them, I tore it open and dumped the contents onto the table. 30 brand new $100 bills. $3,000. The camera flashed, capturing the image of me staring down at the small pile of cash. "Thank you," I said, gathering the bills and putting them back in the envelope. I looked up at them. "I understand." My compliant reaction seemed to be exactly what they expected. What else was a poor college student supposed to do when faced with an authoritative institution and a huge sum of $3,000 but be grateful? The man nodded, satisfied. "Good. You can come back next month for the next one. That's all for today." I stood up, holding the envelope, and gave them, and the camera, a deep bow. Then I walked out. Back in my dorm, the first thing I did was set up my phone and start recording. Leo and Sam gathered around, their eyes fixed on the red envelope in my hand. On camera, my expression was calm, but my eyes held a deep, profound confusion. "Hi, everyone. It's Cole. This afternoon, I went to the Red Cross. I got the money." I held the red envelope up to the camera. Then, one by one, I slowly pulled out the 30 bills and laid them on the desk. $3,000. I looked into the camera, my voice soft, almost a whisper. "I've been thinking all day. How did $500,000 become $3,000? And I think I finally get it." My eyes started to turn red. This time, I wasn't acting. It was the raw, absurd feeling of being played for a fool over and over again. You don't actually want us to be a family again, do you? You just want my parents to stop causing trouble. $500,000 was to help a family get back on their feet. $3,000 is to make them go away. I picked up one of the $100 bills and held it up, forcing a pained smile. I get it now. You wanted to take this money, give it to them, buy them 2 bus tickets, and send them back to wherever they came from. So they'll disappear from the public eye and stop being an inconvenience. If you didn't want to take them back, you could have just said so. My voice started to break, a tremor of humiliation running through it. Why did you have to do it like this? Using $3,000 to insult me, to insult them, and to insult the kindness of everyone who donated $500,000. Are you trying to tell us that my entire family is only worth this much? At the end of the video, I didn't cry. I just neatly stacked the $3,000, put it back in an envelope, and looked into the camera. I'm sorry, I said quietly, but I don't think I can afford this reunion after all. I uploaded the video with the title, "Thank you, Red Cross, for the $3,000. I think I understand now." This time, the internet didn't just get angry. It detonated. If the $500,000 to $5K scandal with Hope Fund had enraged people, the $500K to $3,000 scandal orchestrated by the American Red Cross lit the fuse on a powder keg. Excuse me, I donated $200. The service fee is 99%. Are you a charity or the damn Federal Reserve, printing your own money? Last time it was a private company. Now it's a national institution. Is there anyone who isn't a crook? Wait a minute, Cole's interpretation. Holy hell, that's dark. But he's right. That $3,000 feels exactly like severance pay. This whole thing is making me sick. Not sick of Cole, sick of the spectacle. Were we even watching? Is this all just one giant, elaborate scam? My parents obviously saw the video. The next morning, they proved that their arsenal of public disruption went far beyond throwing a tantrum in a TV studio. They stormed the city's main Red Cross office building. In the new videos flooding the internet, my mother had leveled up. No more lying on the floor. This time, she commandeered the front desk, slamming her hand on the counter. $500,000. We want every cent. What is this spare change for beggars? My son was right. You're insulting us. My father, meanwhile, cornered a news crew that had shown up, his argument sharp and clear. We trusted the Red Cross. That's why we agreed to this. Now, where's the money? You give us $3,000. Did you and your executives split the other $497,000? We demand answers. The scene was pure chaos. That afternoon, backed into a corner, the City Red Cross chapter called an emergency press conference. It was the same man in the white shirt, only now his face was paler than his clothes. Facing a sea of cameras, he declared with righteous indignation, "The American Red Cross has never, and will never, misappropriate a single cent of donor funds. The $500,000 assistance fund was placed in a trust, the full control of which was given to Mr. Cole Miller. His claim that he only received $3,000 is a malicious and defamatory lie." He was absolute. There was no room for doubt in his voice. And just like that, the tide of public opinion began to shift again. On one side, a college student clutching $3,000, claiming to be a victim. On the other, a revered national institution, swearing on its reputation that it had delivered $500,000. Who was lying? No way. Is this kid actually getting off on the drama? This is getting scary. If the Red Cross is telling the truth, then Cole is. I knew it from the start. Ungrateful snake. Just as a new wave of hatred was about to crest, just as my public image was about to morph from victim to con artist, something happened. A lightning bolt struck the heart of the internet. At 10 p.m. that night, an anonymous account on Reddit posted a new thread. The title was Frowny Face, "I'm not trying to start anything. I just thought everyone should see our city's Red Cross chapter's finances for this year." The post contained a single image. It was a screenshot of an internal financial report. The data was clear, the line items stark. City of Chicago Red Cross Chapter Financial Summary. Jan-July 2025. Total public donations received. $1,530,000. Expenditures. 1. Salaries, pensions, and employee benefits. $1,200,000. 2. Office, administrative, and operating costs. $150,000. 3. Program services, community and shelter support, $100,000. 4. Disaster relief reserve fund, $80,000. The image was an atomic bomb. No angry commentary. No emotional appeal. Just cold, hard numbers. The post was deleted in under 10 minutes. But it was too late. The screenshot had already gone viral, spreading through every social media platform, every group chat. The internet was silent for a full minute. Then came the eruption. They took in $5 million in donations and spent $2 million on salaries. Are you ing kidding me? My donation was used to pay some bureaucrat's salary. $100,000. In 7 months, an entire city's Red Cross chapter only gave out $100,000 in actual aid. Okay, now I believe them. They are absolutely capable of turning $500,000 into $3K. Cole, we're sorry. We were wrong. Why are you not an ungrateful snake? You're a whistleblower. I stare at the screenshots spreading like wildfire on my phone, at the comments spiraling into pure, unrestrained fury. I turned off my phone, laid down on my bed, and pulled the covers over my head. My dorm room was quiet, the only sound a faint whisper of the wind outside my window. The world was burning. But this time, the fire had nothing to do with me. 07, the inferno, that financial report, was the fuse. I lit it and tossed it into a warehouse full of dynamite. Over the next 72 hours, I witnessed a firestorm. The inferno of outrage that started with the Red Cross didn't die down when the post was deleted. Instead, it morphed into a nationwide digital movement called #CheckTheBooks. It started with angry donors trying to dig up financial records for every charity and crowdfunding platform they'd ever given money to. They acted like a swarm of digital detectives, combing through the dark corners of the internet for evidence. One by one, the bombs started dropping. Cole, you have to see this, Leo yelled, holding out his phone like he'd just discovered America. On the screen was a Reddit post, the title in a bold, angry red, frowny face: my dad became a paraplegic after a workplace accident. We raised $100,000 on a crowdfunding site for his medical bills. The platform took $80,000 in administrative fees. We got $20K. The post included screenshots of the entire campaign, the platform's payout statements, and the final bank transfer. The evidence was undeniable and heartbreaking. The comment section was a war zone. An 80% administrative fee. Did they send a team of private nurses to personally administer your dad's care? Don't ask. They're professionals, professionally lining their own pockets. At Hope Fund, get over here and take your beating. Oh, right, you're already dead. Man, don't feel too bad. At least you got $20,000. Cole Miller's $500,000 became $3K. That's a 99% fee. Your platform was practically a non-profit by comparison. I had become a new unit of measurement. Every story of stolen donations was now converted into the Miller scale of corruption. Sam pushed his glasses up, his face grim as he scrolled through another forum on his laptop. This one's even worse. He turned the screen toward us. A woman, posting anonymously, shared her story. She had started a campaign to raise $50,000 for her daughter's leukemia treatment. The platform's case manager had implied that if she would spend the night with him, he could fast-track the review and guarantee she received the full amount. She had attached a muffled audio recording to the post. A man's oily voice could be heard saying, "Look, it must be hard raising a kid on your own. We just want to help. If you're willing to be flexible, it could be good for everyone." The public's anger instantly shifted from financial greed to a violation of basic human decency. Son of a bitch. Are these people even human? Leo slammed his fist on his desk. But that wasn't even the bottom. That night, a new, bizarrely hilarious hashtag started trending. #MadeCostumeManRoom40 it linked to a series of text message screenshots. A man was trying to raise $70,000 for his wife's cancer treatment. A male manager at the crowdfunding platform gave him a strange offer. "Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. wear this," the manager texted, along with a link to a French-made costume on Amazon. "Come to room 404 at the Marriott. We'll play video games all night. You win a round, I approve $1,000 of your funding. Win 70 rounds, you get the full amount." The last message in the exchange was the husband's desperate reply. "Can I wear something else?" The manager's response, no, it's part of our corporate culture. For 3 full seconds, my dorm room was silent. Then Leo and Sam, one slumped over his desk, the other leaning back in his chair, started laughing so hard they were crying. Corporate culture. Oh my God. Leo gasped. What fresh hell is this? That manager is a genius. He probably thinks this doesn't count as sexual harassment because it's a game. He just wanted a gaming buddy with a very specific fetish. I hereby declare this the most insane performance review metric of all time. The internet had officially lost its mind. Rage, disgust, absurdity, and dark humor all twisted together into one giant, chaotic mess. Does the costume give you a damage bonus? My advice: the husband should wear the outfit, go to the room, punch the manager into the ICU, and then start a new fundraiser for his legal defense. The entire digital world had become a stage for performance art. And me, the person at the center of the storm, was sitting in a quiet corner of the university library, reading a chapter on advanced calculus. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow on the pages. The only sounds were the soft rustle of turning pages and the scratching of pens on paper. My phone was on silent, left behind in my dorm. The world was burning down behind me, and I had simply found a quiet place to read my book. I didn't need to follow the news anymore. I knew that the moment that financial report was leaked, I had already won. I had won the peace and quiet I craved. No one was harassing me anymore, telling me to forgive my parents, or calling me ungrateful. My parents, the influencer, and the Red Cross were all caught in a much larger and more destructive hurricane, too busy trying to save themselves to bother with me. They were the public's new targets, and I had slipped away, unnoticed. That evening, I walked back to my dorm. Leo and Sam were still scrolling, their expressions caught somewhere between righteous fury and trying not to die from laughter. Hey, you're back, Leo said, his eyes lighting up. Guess what? The May Costume platform just released an official statement. What did they say? I asked, dropping my backpack. They said, the manager was a temporary employee. His actions do not reflect company values. He has been terminated, and they have compensated the victim for his emotional distress, Sam answered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. The classic PR playbook. How much do they pay him? $500. I didn't say anything else. I started organizing my desk. Hey, Cole, Leo said, his voice suddenly serious. How are you? Feeling about all this? I paused, thinking for a moment. How did I feel? Not angry, not happy. I just felt like I had finished fighting a long, exhausting war. And now, all I wanted was a good night's sleep. I don't feel anything, I said, except that the library's air conditioning is a little too cold. Leo stared at me, confused by the answer. But Sam seemed to understand. He pushed his glasses up and said quietly, he's right. None of that has anything to do with us anymore. He was right. It didn't. I had my tuition money, and I had shed the labels they tried to stick on me. I had pointed the fire hose in the right direction. How much of the forest burned down, and how many monsters were smoked out of their caves? That was a problem for society to solve. I was just a student. My job was to study. I switched on my desk lamp, opened my problem set, and the tip of my pen made a crisp, scratching sound against the paper. Outside, the city lights began to glow, painting the sky a strange, hazy orange. It was loud and chaotic out there. But in my world, there was only this lamp, this book, and this impossible calculus problem. And that was perfectly fine. 08, epilogue 4 years, passed like a gust of wind, blowing through the campus green and scattering the graduation caps tossed into the summer sky. I accepted a job offer from a state utility company. A decent position with a decent salary and a future so stable you could see retirement from day one. Leo passed the civil service exam and went back to his hometown. On his last night, he got incredibly drunk and cried while hugging me, slurring that the most legendary thing he'd ever witnessed was me single-handedly breaking the internet. Sam got into a graduate program and continued his journey into the world of computer science. He pushed his glasses up and gave me his final analysis. You didn't break the internet. You just pulled back the curtain, and everyone realized the whole stage was rotten to begin with. That's all. He was right. The fire I started didn't burn down the whole forest. It just illuminated the rot and decay that had been festering in the dark. The aftermath was disappointingly mundane. Hope Fund declared bankruptcy after a year of struggle. The founder held a press conference, weeping more convincingly than I ever did, claiming that a vindictive public had killed his dream. Then he boarded a flight to Grand Cayman. The Made Costume platform was fined $30,000 and ordered to restructure. 6 months later, it re-emerged under a new name, this time pitching blockchain-powered philanthropy, and continued its grift. The City Red Cross chapter conducted a thorough internal review, fired a few low-level scapegoats, and published a 50-page reform plan filled with more jargon than my calculus textbook. Then, everything went back to normal. The only thing that truly changed was the public. After that, fundraiser became a dirty word. Whether it was a plea for medical bills or a disaster relief drive, the response was no longer sympathy, but a flood of question mark and demands to hashtag check the books. If a celebrity or influencer dared to make a public appeal, the comments would be instantly flooded with my old meme. Me kneeling on a stage, captioned with the now famous line, "Cash at me $50 and I'll listen to your sermon." Once trust is broken, rebuilding it is like trying to raise the dead. I became an anonymous cautionary tale, a ghost haunting the internet's memory. No one used my name, but my shadow was everywhere. I didn't care. I changed my number, deleted all my social media accounts, and vanished into the crowd. My job at the utility company was stable, predictable, and even a little boring. My days consisted of processing paperwork, filling out spreadsheets, and sitting through long meetings. The office was quiet, filled with the gentle clicking of keyboards and the low hum of the HVAC system. My colleagues were pleasant, and their conversations revolved around their kids' soccer games and the price of groceries. I loved it. The news about my parents reached me on an ordinary afternoon during my last year of college, in an utterly ordinary way. It wasn't from the police, but a call from the county coroner's office. An unclaimed John and Jane Doe, their only identifying information a faded newspaper clipping about me found in the man's wallet. I took a bus to a part of the city I'd never been to. The medical examiner saw my ID and led me to a storage closet filled with cardboard boxes. Their personal effects were in a single, worn-out tote bag. I knelt and untied the handles. There was no money, no valuables, just stacks and stacks of paper. There were printouts of the old articles that had condemned me. There were handwritten, rambling letters of complaint addressed to the producers of Reunited, to Hope Fund, to the Red Cross. There were hospital bills, most for small amounts from emergency room visits. At the very bottom was a cheap, dog-eared bank book. I opened it. The last transaction was from a month ago. The balance was $73.50. I stared at that number for a long time. They died without ever getting their hands on that imaginary $500,000. They had wasted the last years of their lives chasing a ghost, like two dogs spinning in circles trying to catch their own tails, until they finally collapsed from exhaustion. The final value of their lives had been pegged at $73.50. An attendant handed me a form and a pen. "Sign here, and you can take the bag." I signed. "The remains?" I asked. "At the crematorium. You can arrange a time." I called the crematorium and paid the fee over the phone with my credit card. Back in my small studio apartment, I flushed the ashes down the toilet and made myself a bowl of instant ramen. The evening news was on TV. The anchor was reporting on the latest economic growth, on the new skyscrapers rising in the city's skyline. The world was thriving. I finished my ramen, washed the bowl, and sat on my couch, watching the city lights flicker on, one by one. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel happy. Their deaths felt like finishing a very long book. The story was over. That was all. Their lives were their final lesson to me. When you let greed consume you, it's all you'll ever be. My life never saw that kind of turbulence again. I worked, got promoted, and earned a steady paycheck. A colleague introduced me to a woman who also worked a stable job. She was kind, we got along, and eventually we got married and had a son. My boy grew up in a quiet, peaceful world. He didn't know what crowdfunding was, and he'd never heard of cyberbullying. His biggest worry was his third-grade math test. Sometimes, a coworker would start a GoFundMe for a sick relative and post the link in the company group chat. People would donate $20 or $50, a small gesture of goodwill. When a message got to me, I never clicked the link, but I would always Venmo the person directly and write a simple note, "Wishing you the best." One year, a new intern joined our department. She was young, full of passion and a fierce sense of justice. She read a news story about a man who had been scammed while trying to raise money for his wife's medical bills. She was furious, her voice rising in the quiet office. How can people be so cold? Does anyone donate anymore? What is wrong with this world? The office was silent. A few of the older employees exchanged knowing glances, but said nothing. I was holding my mug on my way to the coffee machine. As I passed her desk, I paused. I looked at her face, red with a righteous anger that was so familiar. She looked just like one of the countless keyboard warriors from all those years ago. I thought about saying something, but didn't. I just kept walking. Outside, the sun was setting, casting a warm, golden light over the city. My life was as steady and predictable as the clock on the wall. Tick-tock. Not too fast, not too slow. It was good.